John, that's a new agenda. That's a new agenda that's up there.
This one here?
Yeah, it's not the one I sent you.
Okay, thank you.
Call this meeting to order. All stand, face the flag for pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call. Britton Luther.
Present.
R.J. Donovan.
Here.
Tim Yocum present. Approval of minutes.
Make a motion that we approve the minutes as written.
I'll second that motion.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Approval of claims.
I'll make a motion to approve claims.
I'll second the motion to approve claims.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Approval of payroll.
Make a motion that we approve payroll.
I'll second the motion.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Open issues. Health Department. You're first.
Good morning. We have a quick update for you. Totals from the month of May were 29 new cases, and a total from the month of June 9th, fully vaccinated in Vermilion County residents were 5,296. We are also having a clinic at both of the high schools in August. At North Vermilion and South Vermilion, we're setting up with the Pfizer and the Johnson & Johnson so that we can try to get the school-age children as well as the teachers. Let's see. In other words, that's it. It's pretty quiet. You know, our response has gone down a little, and that's okay. You know, if somebody doesn't want to get it, that's fine. And we were going from like 200 a day to maybe 10 now. So.
Okay, now is all the counties around us, including us in blue, is it?
Yes.
And what does that mean?
That means that we're without any limitations right now.
Don't have any?
No.
Okay, I asked a question, I didn't know where it's went yet, but if you had a conversation with the schools, because I heard something that they're still going to require teachers to wear masks or something because they got federal funding. If the teachers don't, then they'll lose federal funding. You know anything about that?
I didn't hear anything about the federal funding, but the schools are going to determine their own jurisdiction on that. We're not. So right now, that's what we heard, that they are going to be wearing a mask.
They will be?
Yeah. Well, I know for sure on the buses. And I think if they all sit in the same direction, then they won't have to.
So you're saying even they're talking about even the kids will still have to wear masks next
On the
year?
bus. That I know for sure. Yeah. We'll get a better update when we go to the school on Monday.
And is that something that you guys are advising them on, or is that something that the schools make their own policy on?
Dr. Albright makes his recommendations, and the school takes it from there. They're allowing it on the school level to make those decisions, is my understanding.
What I'm saying is, are they basing what they're doing on the recommendations of the local health department?
That I'm not for sure. I would say yes.
It's still from the state.
Yeah, it's really still from the state, is what they're basing it on. All school districts are doing that.
Okay, but you haven't heard anything about that link if they don't abide by
No,
the
that I've
funding?
not heard. No. I could speak to Wendy and see if she has, but I have not heard that.
Okay. How you doing on funding for your
I
programs?
believe everything right now is good. Let me see what else she had to say here. Right now, she said everything is fine.
Anybody else got any question for the health department?
I do. On Thrive, there's a number of services that are provided that probably, if not quasi, fall underneath the health department review. Have you looked at any of those programs that they offer that we're participating in? Is there any way that we're trying to promote the use of these programs?
Oh, definitely.
Because how do we do that? Or how are we promoting that?
Through the nursing, I work with the state and local to promote all those kind of programs.
How did people find out about them? Because I didn't know we were, well, just because I don't know doesn't mean much, but how do people find out what these are? Some of these topics, I'm not sure what they even mean as far as case management goes, and well, there's a number of items here. How do people find out about this other than word of mouth, I guess? Or?
That and social media.
Okay.
Yeah, they are supposed to be helping us to promote it better, and that's what we're working with them on now, so that we can get it out there.
Let us know if there's something else we can do to promote these things.
Okay.
Our participation, except for one line item, looks fairly low. We pay for the services, and and it looks like there's a number of these things that people don't know about and that we could be using them. We have a county of at least 15,000, if not more, and the numbers here are just extremely low. They're under 3 digits for the most part. Anyway, next time I'd like to show this up on the screen if we can and let people know. And if we could discuss maybe some of these topics and what they mean and that'd be kind of nice at another meeting, not necessarily the next one, but at some point here.
On that point, it's probably better to have Thrive come and talk about their programs, and I've encouraged them for them to come, and I know they will talk about, because I agree with you 100%. There's a lot of programs and things and different things that are available to our county that our county, I don't believe, is getting that information. Do you agree? Is that what we need to figure out some way to promote it, right?
Yes, just like I said, we've spent some money here. There's a lot of grants that have been that we've spent money on, and we're just not getting. Doesn't look like a lot of participation, even though they're programs I'm sure people can use or are using in a different way, maybe. But I'd like to.
Well, COVID really set us back on a lot of things as well.
If you've seen the numbers, if it's different because of pre-COVID, I'd like to know what those numbers were. I guess I can get that probably from Thrive too.
Okay.
They probably have that. I just want to see if we can't get the information out so people start using the services that we're paying for. So.
Also, be nice to have them post information on our website too, their services and what all they can do.
Sure. All this information should be on our website. I guess that comes back to, does the county have an official Facebook site or something, social media site other than our website?
We do not have a Facebook page.
We do?
We do not have a Facebook page.
I don't know if that's something we want, but anyway. Yeah, I have opinions on that, but okay, thanks.
Vermillion Rise.
Morning.
Good morning.
Just a few odds and ends to share. So our board meeting will be the 15th of July, third Thursday, 6 o'clock like always. I think I mentioned before that prior to that meeting we're going to be getting some bids in on cooling those conference rooms with mini splits, new term. But that'll be nice considering the heat that we're going to be maybe having these last couple of months before the fall. We talked about our roads, and Chad and I decided I think one of the better things we could do is to, rather than just come out and look at them, we're always happy to do that, but sort of begin to quantify, how many potholes and how many need to be cut out, and just put a little bit more meat into a scope of work, and then maybe that's something we could talk about. If the county could help with these things, but maybe these other things, maybe we need a contractor or whatever. So we'll try to put some specificity into these road repairs that we're interested in.
What was the amount on that difference of that we had Was it 160,000, 130,000, or what was, you know what that number was?
Yeah, it was in that ballpark, Tim, I can't remember for sure, 140, 100 something.
In reference to what?
That was from a tax issue that we
It was,
owed them back
Yeah,
credit. It was discovered last year,
I think so.
and they're talking about,
Is that because of the TIF district? Is that what we're talking about?
Yes.
Okay.
and so, that was something that he was looking at.
Well, I think some of the board members brought that up as maybe a alternative or way for the county to be of assistance. But that, or even just, again, using the county crews and resources, if we can pay them for some help, time and material versus someone else.
What are you looking at right now? Yeah, actually looking at doing paving or just fixing the holes?
Well, there's potholes that we think if we saw them out and fill them, that it'll just help give the pavement a little bit more life than just continue to disintegrate. And then there is one bigger stretch right where Scott Pett and Preferred Tire Recycling, there's just a lot of turn movements, and it's kind of destroyed that section. It's 50 feet of pavement that probably needs to be taken up and sort of
Do you guys have a lot of restriction on getting funding for grants and stuff? I mean, since you're...
Well, it is interesting. The utility stuff has been a real challenge for us because we don't have a rate base. Everybody, the feds and state agencies want to have a rate base to know you can raise the money to be sustainable. So we've struggled in that. We tried to work with Thrive and do some EDA work, and Ryan just sort of said that just simple infrastructure like this isn't as competitive right now. So yeah, we have had challenges to meet some of these conventional fundings that maybe cities, towns, counties could, because we're just sort of the reuse authority is just a different creature. Although in that light, Tim, we are working with Eric Smith to this Indiana Finance Authority. There's the new Strategic Water Infrastructure Fund. I believe this is recovery money, so it doesn't have a lot of strings like USDA or what have you. So we are going to try to get. I thought we were looking at just the reservoir, getting the reservoir off our system. But I think we're actually going to talk about maybe the pump at the Rainy Well, and if we're going to go after some money, let's try to get a little bit more, because we know some of these things have limited lifetime left, so it might be upwards of $900,000. And I think if it's okay, I'll send you just a empty Word doc of a letter of support. You could copy and paste it into county letterhead if you care to. And we reached out to our state rep and senator to, I don't know how much water it carries, but we're going to ask for those. We haven't decided anything yet or direction on the Shell building. We talked about sort of the broker listing is going to expire here this week. I think everybody just wants to exhale and not get in a hurry about re-upping or someone new or what have you. And then lastly, I'm going to, travel is back. Signed up for an event before COVID in Detroit with site selectors and commercial real estate brokers to build awareness of the rise. So that's back next week, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then be going on a trip to New York with our investment-owned utilities, the Indiana Power Partnership it's called. So all the utilities across the state broker and connect with regional economic development groups to go to market. So it's New York's the first, Dallas, Chicago, and Atlanta, Greenville. So our Accelerate group, we were able to get 2 seats, New York and 3 seats, Chicago and Atlanta. So again, that's another important reason for our Accelerate in West Central Indiana, this coalition of 6 counties, is really just to do marketing and attend events like this. So.
I got a message last night. Tim, are there any buildings available for sale that remain rise that have a few acres and small? I'm considering setting up a remote operation where I won't need more than 2,000 to 3,000 square feet. I would like some land with it. That's Ken Cawley from the plastic company in Illinois. So I also sent that to Ellis, so if you guys can look at that and see what you
Yeah,
come
sure.
up with.
Well, we send him some information, we'll package it and send it again, for sure. Good deal.
Do we have our water agreement in place, or have you all signed that
Yes,
agreement yet?
I'll make a note to get a copy to you.
I
Thank
sent
you.
the agreement with Hillsdale for the next board meeting for them to consider to sign.
Are they amiable to it?
Do what?
Are they going to sign it?
They should, they agreed to it in a public meeting, but still, that needs to be signed. Anybody got a question for Bob Grew? Thank you, sir. VTA, Vermillion Trails Alliance.
Good morning, Les Zimmerman, Vermillion Trails Alliance. And first thing I want to do is I know that Tom Milligan announced last meeting that we are going to have an open house, a ribbon cutting at the new park, the Trailhead Park down the street here. We're going to have that a week from today, 10 o'clock in the morning. You all are invited. And I would almost feel like I would say that you are expected to attend. This is your project, this is your property. This has been taken on by the Parks Board to basically to operate this park. So we're very excited about this. We're gonna have the Chamber of Commerce. I mean, we should have a nice crowd. We're gonna have, obviously, the Alliance members, county government people, the foundation people.
So Les, was any consideration taken into having the opening in an evening or maybe a Saturday morning where people during the week day shift could make it? Because that's kind of tough for people working day shift at 10 o'clock.
I understand that, and we talked about that. We had that discussion, and
Including
we decided
myself,
we just
you
need
know.
to pick a date and a time, and whoever can come, can come.
Yeah. Well, it's
And-
unfortunate for the ones at work, you know, because that's kind of tough for them to make that 10 o'clock during the weekday, but.
I understand that, and that was certainly a topic of conversation. Always a problem is how do you schedule this stuff?
Yeah.
Can I just add that when we did discuss that, we were hoping like Eric Jones and media would be there and that would get the word out about the park and
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. So
I-
it's not so much, you know, that we have a lot of outside people there, it's just that we get the word out that
Yeah.
it's open and up for use.
I have a number for you for TV10 if you want to use it.
I've got it.
Okay. Is it Tucker guy, or you got someone else?
The person I talked to about the
Okay.
the
I just want
half
to know I had
marathon,
that contact if you need it. That's
they
all.
were very responsive, yes.
We was talking about this open house. This open house was, I know what we discussed, it was more for local leaders and that, but I think it would be good to have something also on a Saturday for everybody, you know, maybe in the future.
Well, and honestly, I think at this point, once this thing is officially open, I think that we need to be looking at how is the Parks Board going to utilize this park. We've been instrumental in getting this thing put together. We've done, you know, the lion's share of the work to make this thing happen. This is a county park. It has a Parks Board. And we are always, Vermillion Trails Alliance is always interested in partnering.
Right.
And I think, you know, to me, this is going to be a celebration because this represents just a wonderful partnership. It's going to take me several minutes just to list all the people that have been involved in this project. It's truly a testament to community involvement here in this county. So I'm kind of looking at it like a celebration. But I think you're right. I mean, I think there's going to be a lot of opportunities to have events out there. I'll buy the hot dogs for the weenie roast, you know, for Halloween. I'll do that.
Got a hayride too?
We can do that.
Is there any way the county can help with this what's going on, or you got everything covered for that day, or?
I think we're covered for the day. Thank you. Other questions about that? Okay, the second item I have on my, what I want to talk to you about today is we would like you to consider renting a track hoe to put on the job at Hillsdale, on the Hillsdale Railroad grade. I've gotten quotes from both McAllister, the Caterpillar people down in Terre Haute, as well as the John Deere people. We're looking at the equivalent of a 314, which is a 30,000-pound machine. If you'll recall, we had volunteers out there taking brush, cutting brush, stacking brush last spring. We need to get those stumps out. This is on the D on the levee. We need to get those stumps out. We need to stack that brush. We need to get it burned. We need to get in there to remove the ties. All of these tasks that I've just outlined are going to be volunteer tasks. We are willing to do the work. I am going to furnish a skid steer with forks to remove the ties. I will furnish the equipment, the fuel and everything, and the manpower to run it. The only thing we need is we need a track hoe. We are not in a position as a 501c3 nonprofit to rent that because of insurance issues. You own the property. This is your project, and so we'd like to ask you to basically to rent a track hoe for maybe a week. We're thinking we can do this in a week's time. The cost to rent a track hoe, a 31,000-pound machine at John Deere, was right around $2,200 a week. It's going to be another couple $100 transportation each way, so we're talking around, in McAllister, the Caterpillar was about $200 higher. I think the choice or the decision would be made on which one's available at the time.
Probably $3,000.
So we're looking at $2,800 total, and that will give you 40 hours. And let's just go on the high side, Tim, at $2,800, that's $70 an hour to rent that machine. Typically with a contractor, we did inquire of a contractor, and the cost to put a machine with a man and insurance and all the assorted stuff is going to run you $130 to $150. So I'm seeing a savings of somewhere around $80, which would be, you know, the volunteer aspect of that. $80 over 40 hours, about $3,000, $3,200. So we want you to consider that. I'm not going to ask you for a decision today, because I know that you don't want to do things like that on a short notice, but I would like to have you consider that and maybe give us an answer possibly by the next meeting.
What John Deere dealership did you go through?
Terre Haute down there at Fruit Ridge in Margaret. It's called
Who'd you talk to down there?
West Side Tractor.
Who'd you talk to down there? The guy that owns it lives down there in Bell Lake.
No. Chris Lottie, the manager down there.
Who?
Chris Lottie.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking.
Yeah.
I talked to Austin, he was a parts guy, and he gave me a card, he gave me a number to call up in Lafayette to make the arrangements. They do not have a rental manager on site, but we know the guy. So, right.
Right. You might also add, I don't know if you brought this up before, that IEA is donating their time to help us get across the creek, Little Raccoon Time, at no cost to anybody, the county or. That's a huge.
That is a huge donation.
Do you have a dollar value with that? That they're donating?
I did not. We've been talking with Brad Hill out there, but he's talking about putting a 320 in there. That is a big machine. That's like a 50,000-pound machine.
The other thing is, if you do that, you need to have them have a thumb on it.
For our part, we do. For putting in a creek crossing, we don't. These prices that I quoted you here are with a thumb.
With thumb, okay.
Yes. Yes. But yeah, Dave brings up a good point. I mean, again, we're seeing this community involvement. We're seeing buy-in on these projects. people are stepping up. I find that very exciting. I think we've got something going here in this
Well, and
county.
this is Brad Hill's personal time that he's donating.
It
It's
is,
not
it
company
is.
time, it's personal time.
And obviously IEA is gonna be furnishing equipment and I think a couple of laborers.
That's right.
And geotextile fabric is coming with them. We have to buy the rock. And we had this all set up to do this last Friday. We had dump trucks, we had 6 trucks allocated, they were gonna do 2 rounds with 6 trucks. And, of course, then the river came out, so we were bank full, we were 6 feet deep in the creek, so, that all went away. I'll be down there here probably tomorrow, go see where the creek is and see where the river is. Maybe we can get in there next week.
Funding wise, where's the money's coming from?
It's in the bank. Brenda's got her finger on the trigger. It is coming directly out of the grant funds,
VTA funds.
VTA funds. The only possible cost to the county would be at the end of the year. I think you do like an insurance audit, since this track hoe would be covered under your insurance. At the end of the year, when they do the insurance audit, you may get a few $100. What are you thinking, Tim?
$150 to $200
That you may be asked to pay to your insurance provider.
Okay.
Of course, if we run into that, there would have to be insurance coverage on it then, not.
Yes. That's, based on our inquiries of your insurance provider, that's covered. And you may want to choose to rent that like through your highway department or something like that.
What type of insurance are we talking? General liability or equipment insurance, or what insurance are we talking about?
Brendan, you'll be talking about the physical coverage on the machine itself, and the liability automatically provided by the county.
Sure. Thanks.
Vandalism, upset, collision, overturn.
And are we gonna limit who's gonna operate the machine?
Well, I was planning to do that myself.
That's limiting it then.
That's pretty limited. I don't, and at one point, we were talking about, I was wondering, I'm not gonna name names, but I've got an operator friend that I was gonna lean on to see if he would wanna come out and help a little bit.
I got a question for you.
Yes.
There's a local man who has some of that same equipment, and if you're gonna spend out $2,800 or so for X, do you think maybe we ought to check with them and see if they'd wanna do it for the amount for a week of work? And be where you went?
I did talk to one local person who had left me a few months ago. He had left me with the impression that his equipment was sitting on the lot and it wasn't being used, so I called him to see if he would not rent it to us, but donate it to us. He said, no, everything's working. And when you go down to McAllister's, the lot is empty. I'm kind of leaning toward John Deere because they said they could get us a piece of equipment. And that the equivalent machine in John Deere is a 130 to a 314. I don't know if you know somebody that I don't know. And here's the other part of that, Tim, is we are preparing bid documents for the contractor portion of this project. And you know, most of our local contractors will want to bid on this, I'm hoping. And so, you know, I don't want to lean on it too hard. Now, if I had a farmer or something like that, maybe. But I think then you've got insurance issues. I mean, we've been through this whole thought process already. And if you either borrow or rent something from somebody local, how does the insurance come into play? Who covers it? It's not, you know, I think it's important to stay within a contractual kind of an arrangement here on this particular project. That's our thought.
Okay. So you need an answer by the next meeting?
Yes.
Okay. We have to figure out some things here.
Unless you want to give me one today. we'll take that. And a yes would be preferred.
Status of the leases for the properties going, or not the leases, but purchase right away, easements. What's the status of those easements?
Oh,
Temporal
those
easements?
are going, we're trying to
Or
get
right-of-ways,
that,
whatever they are.
and they're typical, you know, getting a hold of these different landowners has been tough, but we're trying to get those agreements in the hands of the landowners so that they can also review them, so that when we do get ready to fill in the dates and everything, that we can just all sit down and sign it. But that's where we're at with that, we're having landowner reviews.
Okay.
And we're getting very, very positive response from the two landowners.
Yes, yes. Other questions? Anybody? Thank you. Anybody want to?
Okay, next up we got jail. Britton, you got the floor on
We got
this.
the appraisals back a little while back anyway. The present jail, the average appraisal for that was 4.3 million. It doesn't play a significant role as one of the requirements in order to go out for bonds. It could play into the 15% that we're obligated to keep the lease or the lease ongoing, to be able to keep the bonding and everything into position. It doesn't really have a lot of effect on the project though. Interim funding approved was by the council, was a little bit over $1 million last council meeting, special council meeting that was approved. On construction right now, I was hoping that we'd have it up. Oh, we do have it up. There we go. I didn't think we were gonna have it. Thank you. This is the layout for the laydown and for the operators and contractors for the present construction that's going on. We started July 6th. Actually, it started a little bit before that on the planning, but the sheriff should be moved out along with dispatch in the next week or so. They'll be moving things, well, actually, they'll be moving things over. When everything's operational, then they'll cut the ties to the existing jail. The site is going to be pretty well isolated to, you'll see a red line there on the main road that goes in, or red dash. Basically, from there on is going to be limited access to the jail itself. Still have access to the Humane Society, and then the contractors will have access to the lay-down yards and the parking lots. Trailers have been set up, emergency power has been negotiated with the state using the tower, and we're on schedule at this point, so it's kind of exciting times. The council will meet July 19th to review the additional bonds or additional appropriations and about the bonds, and then how much is going to come from the county coffers as far as monies to make up the difference between the last approval for bonds and this one. There's about $6 million difference, I believe, between the two. That's about it.
What happened with the power line issue with Duke Energy? Did that sort of been taken care of, or is still under?
That's part of the package, and they'll be, Duke has that scheduled. I don't have that on I don't know exactly what date they're going to start. That's up to Duke.
Are they going to have to move it over more in the right-of-way, state right-of-way, or just
Yes.
gotta go
No,
higher?
they're just going over to the state highway. They'll take 2 poles, they'll move those over, and line will go down the state highway line, or on the right of way.
State highway had no problem with that. That's been taken care of, I think.
From what I understand, there's no issues with it. There shouldn't be any issues given what they did up north.
Yeah.
Actually, no, there's no issues. That's been approved, and it's in the works. Duke will be starting that shortly.
What type of day we probably looking at, maybe groundbreaking on when to start on the project? Has changed, it's been moved back a little bit, you think?
No, the contracts have been let. I'll have to let you know on the exact date where dirt's going to be turned over. But contracts have been let for the interim to keep us on schedule. They approved that interim funding last week, and so we're in the process of getting schedule of values. There's some paperwork that needs to be done before we actually get to the groundbreak or the turning of the dirt anyway. But as soon as schedule of values are approved, bonds or payment bonds and performance bonds are in place, then they'll be proceeding.
Okay. Anybody got any question about the jail? We'll move on to WTH fee schedule for electronic map data.
Last meeting, I was tasked to call WTH and find out some information on that request by Tri Global Energy, and after a little research, goes clear back to 2009. The county has approved, I think, 10 of these requests, and ultimately they can range from farmers, like I looked at some names on the list here, Ag Exchange, Mapping Solutions, Tim Foltz. Basically, the information is already out there on WTH. It's just giving them the ability to put it into their system. So after talking to him, I think, like I said, we've approved everyone that's come before us before. Tried to negotiate a little bit higher fee than $250, but didn't go too well. So, other than that, I would move that we approve the agreement with WTH for the electronic map fee schedule.
I'll second your motion.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay. Status of county handbook used by elected official offices.
Did you have any luck with that, Brenda? I know you've been on vacation, but I'm sure you want to spend your time calling the offices. No? All right.
Yeah, I left right after the last meeting.
I know.
We still have the issue with that as far as having a handbook yet. It's not really enforced or whatever by office holders.
That's what we're trying to find out, as to what offices are prescribing to the commissioner's handbook and which ones are not, and which ones have their own handbook or just standing around without any type of guidance, if you will.
John, what kind of other authority do we have as commissioners? Because, you know, I've been to some other counties and I found out that, you know, some of their courthouses, you know, they don't let their offices close for lunch. You know, they don't let, I mean, some commissioners in other counties seem to flex a little more authority over their courthouse.
We've got control over the courthouse, when it's open, when it's closed. We have to allocate office space suitable for each office holder to be able to do their job. As far as telling somebody when they can let their people have lunch and when they can't, I don't think that would be a winning fight, to fight with another office holder. It may be in different counties there's more willingness to comply. I haven't seen that here.
Okay.
Anybody else got any questions about the handbook?
Is that the biggest issue with the handbook? I mean, or is there other issues out there that will warrant?
From what I understand, in the formation of the handbook, I think all offices in the courthouse anyway, actually all offices had input into the handbook for a long period of time. That was approved here since the beginning of the year, around the beginning of the year, of what the accumulation of all those comments were. What we found was that certain offices were not prescribing to the handbook or picking and choosing what parts of the handbook they wanted to use, and that's what we're trying to get a handle on, is what offices, elected officials anyway, are prescribing to the commissioner's handbook, which is basically the county handbook, or have they developed their own handbook, or are they not prescribing any handbook. The problem is a potential liability going forward, and that's an issue that we're trying to address at this point. So we don't know exactly who is prescribing and who is not. We do know that there's been issues though here in the last few months. Story's still going on.
Okay. Move on, pending council additional appropriation. We'll talk about that, Britton.
We had an emergency declaration on culvert on 1150 South. There's been a request for appropriation, whether the council will hear it or not, for the July 19th meeting. Same thing with the ambulance service status. That's for an audit basically to find out where we stand as the ambulance service costs going forward. That contract comes due September. I'm not sure exactly what date in September, but in September. And we need to be able to provide the council with a recommendation. Right now, that ambulance contract is sitting there with basically the wordage is something to the effect that the subject to council funding or county funding. So the contract, what happens if we don't fund it, I'm not sure, but anyway, we need to be able to advise the council as to what the appropriate funding would be and if the amount that's in the contract is appropriate, and provide some teeth behind that, some weight. So that's in front of the council to approve that funding also for the July 19th meeting, if I'll hear.
This 1150 South, which one is that? The
It's a
culvert.
culvert, it's on County Road 150 South. What happened is that apparently debris had come downstream and clogged the entrance, basically Beaver dammed the entrance off, and it ended up overflowing the road when that happened. And when it overflowed the road, it ate the road out around the culvert. When they went out to look at it and to replace the road surface, the culvert collapsed. It was rotten in the bottom and basically had no bottom to it, and so the culvert basically just laid down at that point. So we're in the process of, we got one bid, we're waiting for the second bid, and once we have those in place, we'll be able to let the contract at the next commissioners meeting, assuming we have the funding.
Moving on down to highway, community crossing grant, bid letting July 20th. Pending receipt of funds and notice of pursuit by July 21st.
Yeah.
And Clark Beach is taking care of that, correct?
Correct. Went out for bids, and then that'll be our first date that we can address it. We'll have the bids back by that date, and then we can give a notice to proceed as early as July 21st, but that is all subject to us receiving the Crossroad grant funding.
Bridge number 90, construction.
Also on July 20th, we should be able to, we'll have our plans and details. Once we have those in hand, we'll review those, and then we can approve those for bidding purposes. Again, the next day also, we can go out for, we can advertise for bids. First or second day in August, we can issue the bids are due, and then construction could start as early as 8/12, assuming that we have an acceptable bid and that we approve those bids. All this is pegged to have our construction complete by October 15th or before.
Bridge number 15.
Bridge number 15, we got a notice to proceed. It was issued. The road will be closed during construction. Pending schedule from White Construction was awarded the contract out of the 4 bidders that submitted. They were the lowest at $97,000 some odd. There was one issue in that the bid documents did not stipulate that we have a payment in performance bond, which will be $2,500, of which I believe that we should have in there. It's an oversight on the engineering part to have that in the contract. I should have caught it also when I was reviewing that, but I didn't. So anyway, there'll be an additional $2,500 to that $97,000 bill, so it's just under $100,000. Again, that right now construction and closure won't start until we have received the materials from American Timber, and I'm waiting on the schedule for that as to be able to give notices when the road will be closed during construction.
County Road 1150 South. It will remain closed pending receipt of bids and county funding and bid letting 7/20/21.
Yeah,
Pending
that's-
council funding.
That's assuming council approves the funding, yeah.
Moving on, new business, assessor's contract for assessment services.
The assessor went out for contract, and already is advertised, it's a requirement. John, would you be able to speak to that?
As to,
The assessor's requirement for contract on bid assessor services?
on why it's
assessing?
bidded?
Yeah,
The statute says they have to bid that, even though it's a professional service. The specific statute that lets the assessor bring on that help says they have to bid it.
okay. The assessors, because she indicated because the commissioners are involved in the contracts and different things that are going on, was wondering if she needed to re-bid that out. She's gone out for bid in, I think, a proper order. I believe the paperwork appears to be in proper order as far as the bid documents go. The only change I would have made is that it goes to the auditor as opposed to the assessor for receipt of bids. But other than that, it appeared to be a reasonable contract, I believe. Did you have any comments on the contract?
No, I didn't see anything wrong with it.
I think she was seeking guidance as to whether to, either she needs to re-advertise and go out for bids or to accept what she's done so far, which I don't think we'd be changing any portion of that. This is for 2022, and it goes on for, I don't remember, 4 years or 5 years. I think it's 4 years. But it's a 4-year contract. It's an obligation that the assessor has to meet the assessment requirements of the county. I think we should probably let her go ahead and proceed. The only thing is make sure that she's date stamping things when they come in, make sure that she's receiving the bids in proper order. So I would make a motion, I believe, to, I don't know if it needs to be a motion, but I believe that we should allow it to continue. It appears everything's in order, and let her continue with her own process, the process she's already set into motion.
I'm in agreement with that.
I don't know that we can just agree. I don't
Yeah.
think we need a motion or anything to that effect, unless somebody
I have no
sees
problem
different.
with it.
Do you have a problem?
I don't have no problem with it. Or do you?
I don't have a problem with it.
So, anyway, that's the basis of that contract.
Okay, we'll move on with that then. Clinton Library Board appointment.
July 1st, we had another appointment to be made, or it comes due, could become due July 1st. Either we can ride with the current person, but I've not heard back whether that person's interested or has been participating. But I would like to see us open up our receiving of interest for persons who would like to be part of the Clinton Library Board. We have one appointment that can be made, and I think we can go to our August meeting and then either reaffirm the person that's there or look at. And I also think that we should have, like we did with Newport,
Right.
offer the library board an opportunity to comment with that as
The
well.
director, yeah.
Mhm.
Have,
I don't know who the director of the Clinton.
I wonder if maybe
I
that
should wrote that
communication
down.
would
I don't
be,
know.
I wonder if that communication would be the Clinton Library Board to see if they have anybody that they would recommend.
But they need to make, if they would, it'd be nice to make application through our process for appointments. I would prefer
I mean,
that,
have
it's not
them.
required.
You know, if they have someone that they are really fond of or need, you know, see if they could help find those people.
Sure. Who wants to, do you want to talk to them, Tim? Since you
I can
seem to
talk to
be,
them.
use that board, or use that library more than others?
Thrive West Notice of Use of Services, they sent us a request.
Yeah,
$212,000.
Actually, it's 14,000.
14.
It's a budgetary line item that I guess we need, $14,294.33 is what they're requesting. It's about, actually, it is exactly a $4,649.58 increase over last year. What we were discussing earlier with the Board of Health there, the discussion was the different services that they provide. I don't know when this is, July 1st to June 30th, 2020, the grand total of use that we've used so far is $339,095.43, of which we paid something around $10,000, a little bit less than $10,000 last year. It'll go up again to 14,000 some odd for next year, and it's a matter of whether we want to include this in our budget and make a recommendation to the council for 2022.
Was this in our packet by chance?
I don't
This
have
was-
anything.
Okay, I was gonna say, I didn't remember reviewing and or looking at
That
it.
was in our last meeting.
Well, this was,
No, I don't
this
have that.
wasn't, this
I do not
budgetary.
This was what Thrive provided us at the little, an informational meeting that we had with Thrive. I don't remember who was there.
Yeah,
Were both of you there, or neither? of you?
I wasn't
No,
there.
he wasn't.
You were there, Tim.
Yeah,
I
it was
think.
about the housing study.
Well, this covers a number of different issues, one of which I think we need to have, like you said earlier, have Thrive come and discuss
Yes.
these topics.
Can you put them on the agenda?
Well, this is what I'd like to have next time, if we can put it up on the screen so people
I-
can see it.
I don't know if we can get them to come to an evening meeting, it might be a month out to the next morning meeting, but we need to check to see if they can come. I know they would.
They'll come and.
They've been very, very helpful in everything.
Well, there's some
we're
other
asking.
issues with this too that we're not, there's other things that we are not using. Part of it has to do with our highway funding, including the crossroad grants. Apparently Melissa Weibel uses them as well, which doesn't really show up on there. Those services, no. Well,
She-
according to John Ford, Melissa consults with them about what she needs to do on those things, so.
With, not so much with our county, but with the other ones she's involved with.
Okay.
Because
So
what
do I
happened is,
understand that we've had $330,000 of benefit with the $10,000 that we've spent? Is that what we're saying? So
Yeah.
it's pretty feasible to?
It's a good program that we'll recommend, even though it's a significant increase. We're going to probably be using this for other services as well that are part of Thrive West Central. I believe the Economic Development Council's been working with them quite extensively on different
I'd like
things.
to more, but yeah.
Another thing that they're looking at also that they should be coming back to you for is the, let's see, the study, I guess, the one that was, they need to know the status
Right
of
now
the
they're-
area
they're putting
planning
together a letter of
comprehensive plan issue, but study, whatever it is, so. But they'll be asking, I think should be coming back. If not, you probably need to contact them.
I was in communication last week, they're putting
Okay.
together a letter of,
but they do
support.
provide,
Yeah.
a lot of services for the county.
Yeah, and there's more, those are just the services that a dollar value is assignable to, that 300 and some odd thousand. There's other services that we're not using that we can be, with highway, with health and housing and so forth, so.
Anything that you copy that? Thank you.
Anyway, it's something I believe that we're getting, even though our use of the program as far as the community is concerned is low, it's still significant. I think that number should be 3 times that, next year anyway. And this program is still going on this year, so this is not done. This is just for the fiscal year 21. So come into next year, I would hope that we would triple this value to the county anyway. That's a goal.
Okay. So what are we gonna do with the $14,000? Do we need to?
It's a budgetary thing right now. We don't have to do anything with it. It's a matter of whether the council wants to, it needs to be part of the budget. So the council.
So it is included?
Hmm?
It is included.
Well, I don't know what's included in the budget. I'm still reviewing that process. I'm not there yet.
Okay. This is something you added, Brett, and I, these things here, I think we need to have a session to discuss these.
Yeah, these are things that when we get into actually if people didn't know, the budgets from different departments was due back, I think, July 2nd or somewhere end of June, first part of July there, of their requests for each department, of which I has not heard back, but I assume that's been done. But some of the things for 2022, I'm not sure. Again, I'm not familiar with the budgetary process. I'm still reviewing that and take on advisement from anybody that understands the process. But there's things that that I would like for us to investigate and include in the 2022 budget. And we can hold off on these line items. And this is only a partial list anyway of likes or needs or wants anyway. And we can discuss this maybe at a later date, but not, we have to do this before August. Because when does the council meet?
We have to actually get them in. September's when they meet, but we have to actually get them into the system.
When does?
The council makes
Any
their decision
particular?
in September.
Okay, but when do you have to have numbers to put into your?
We have to have it in by the end of July.
End of July? Okay.
That's why we gave them until July.
So we don't have a lot of time to.
I think
discuss
all
this.
these things are, are worth discussing, but we just need to have a meeting and, figure out what.
We need a lot of work sessions, I agree.
Yeah, we do.
Well, in the budget process, I mean, you're supposed to have all this done by July
First.
1st, like on the council, we appreciated, like I know emergency management, EDC, I'm sure all of the departments have already finished your budgets, I would imagine.
Yep.
Ron, I'm sure the surveyor's office already done. Penny, everybody, yeah. I mean, I'm sure we can maybe tweak it a little bit, but if it's a lot, I don't know, I guess we could attempt to, but that's putting a lot of stress on the auditor's office, I would imagine.
When does the commissioners ever put input? We had to do it by July 1st?
Well, when I was on the council, I believe the commissioners done it prior to the budget hearings. They always came in and they had their budget ready to go. I don't know that any department came in under, not ready. But I can't tell you when they met because I wasn't a commissioner before January, so I'm not sure when the group of three met.
Well, who submitted the courthouse budget?
That would have been.
Commissioner's court or the courthouse? The courthouse is submitted by Terry. Terry does everything at the courthouse.
Okay.
And then the commissioner's court is specifically, you guys have to do it yourselves. If you want any wants or needs or changes.
More meetings that we should have had prior to
now?
To July 2nd or July 1st,
Yeah.
whenever it was due, if we wanted any, big changes. But we've had a lot of things go on.
And I know
Well-
you've been very, very busy, and we appreciate what you're doing, with the jail and stuff. It's hard to keep track of everything.
Well, hopefully we can maybe initiate some of these into it, but if we can't, then I guess it goes to additional appropriations, which I don't think is a very good way of when we have if we would have an
Yeah.
idea of what we're wanting to do. I think it's something that
I think we're
doesn't
all
give the
open.
council a fair view of what they need to allocate as far as monies go.
Yeah.
I wouldn't appreciate it. I don't appreciate
Yeah,
it.
we'll discuss this more, these items. EMS exercise with county officers.
Been talking with Mark O'Hare. We have a whole system set up for the courthouse to be able, should something happen in the county that the courthouse isn't accessible to office holders down at the Clinton Emergency Management offices there. We should be able to run the government at that location if something would happen in Newport that we could not operate here anyway. And part of that is that I don't think anybody's ever had an exercise to see whether we actually can do that or not, and whether it would work. It appears that it would work in theory, but let's put it in practice. And so, still waiting on a few things to come together, and then also with what's our consultant for the internet or the
Daniel Elliott.
computer services? Who is it?
Daniel Elliott.
Yeah. Anyway, we're waiting on some information, and we'll be working with them, and then I still need to talk to some office holders as to what would be convenient, and whether we should do this as a community, or a county as a whole, of everybody showing up to operate out there, or just do it on a segment basis of each office holder coming down and doing it. Still a matter of discussion, but what we're going to do is I want to have an exercise to make sure we paid for a system. Does it work? Can we work it? And do you know what you're doing when you get down there, or do we know what we're doing when we get there, is to be able to make it operate without a lot of hiccups in between. We've asked that the computers be updated. Right now, they're sitting there waiting for somebody to do it, but if you have to go in and wait for 4 hours or 8 hours for them to update the computers, that's not a very efficient process. And it's a matter of also having some policies in place for our emergency management. Mark has policies and has things in place, but we've not been good at disseminating that information or being able to use it if we have an emergency. Thank goodness we have a lot of people that are competent in the county, and actually our government probably couldn't run without all these people that actually step up on a continual basis for things. So, and that'll happen anyway, or that will happen, but I want us to be as prepared as we can be should an event occur. Anyway, that's what that's about.
What's the status with our contractor agreement with the emergent management?
We don't have a contract.
Well, I mean, we pay X fee per year, right?
What are you talking about? You lost me on this one.
Do what?
What are you asking?
The building in Clinton,
Right.
we pay X amount of dollars, right?
$7,000 a year in rent.
Okay.
And then we pay utilities. That's a contract you have with the city of Clinton. And we are in our second year of a 4-year contract right now.
Do you see are you in favor of always keeping that there, or do you think there's a better, something we'll spend our money better than
Well,
that?
one reason it's there is because if something happened in this part of the county affecting the courthouse, it would not affect Clinton, hopefully. We've talked about moving to Vermilion Rise, but, think about a tornado moving west to east. It's going to take out Vermilion Rise and this courthouse probably, or damage the infrastructure affecting both of them. So keeping them separated is probably a good idea. Over the years, we've got a pretty good working relationship with the city of Clinton. Truthfully, with the money we bring in compared to what we pay out, and I had it for all you guys, when Rick was going to show up to the meeting, we are actually breaking even or a little bit ahead. So it's not really costing us a lot of money to keep that office in Clinton. Right now, with the jail project, there's space there. They're going to be putting sheriff's deputies set up down in the EOC. They're moving the highway department to the EOC for a short period of time due to interruptions that are going to happen with communications, internet, stuff like that. So having that there is a good thing. Obviously, you can do the same thing at Vermilion Rise, but the infrastructure at Vermilion Rise is not good enough right now, I think, to work with.
Right.
Conversations with Britain, I said, if you want to move out of Clinton to somewhere else in the county, that's probably a couple-year project, because getting the infrastructure where we're moving into up to at least to the level where we're at right now, and we just paid to have all that computer equipment put down there for an offsite. All those things have to be moved. It's not like me grabbing 2 pencils and a pad of paper and going to another office. So it's going to take some planning if you think we need to do it.
Can I ask where this is? Where's it located?
It's in the city hall in Clinton.
It's in City Hall.
Yeah.
It's the annex at the police department to enter into the police department.
Any other discussion on this? You missed it.
That's an ongoing discussion. That nothing's been decided on any of that. It's just inquiries. What I've been trying to do is meet with all the department heads in each of the offices that we have, and find out what is good, bad, or indifferent, and get opinions. And that's part of that process anyway. And Mark's been very diligent about being able to do things, and that's where these exercises came up from, the potential of an exercise anyway.
Ordinance 2021-09 for closing courthouse.
Yeah, I would like to read this by title only. County Ordinance Number 2021-09, an ordinance closing the courthouse early on June 16th at 1 o'clock. As anybody working the courthouse knows, there's been some water issues and phone issues, and hopefully sooner than later we won't have any more of these issues, but I would move that we I make a motion to approve county ordinance number 2021-9.
I'll second your motion to approve ordinance number 2021-09.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Proposed residential solar ordinance. Penny Barton.
Hi, Penny Carpenter, area plan,
Penny Carpenter.
2 years ago.
Hey, we're even.
I guess, we're tied, Tim. We had presented this back in the spring, I guess, and we were requested by you guys to hold some town halls about residential solar. We did so. We held one in Clinton. We had one resident show up and one Park County resident show up. We held it also in Cayuga, and we had one resident show up there. So we've
You done what-
fulfilled what you asked,
Yes.
and
Appreciate
so
that.
it's up to you guys what you want to do with the residential solar ordinance.
Was there any questions or was there any debate about anything on it? With the ones you did
There
talk
were a
to?
couple of things that Seth Davis was there. He works for, can't tell you his name right now.
Yeah.
My mind just went blank. But he has a company in county. He had a few questions that we clarified, and we, as you'll see on what you presented, there's some things struck out that he thought needed to be done, so.
Since
And-
those town meetings and the changes, did the APC, did they approve this? then
Yes.
After that?
They, yes, they did. They did that at their June meeting. The one gentleman did show up in Clinton, is interested in having something like this in place because it prevents somebody just trying to get on the grid without doing it properly.
Do you have the information in case someone would want to put solar in on their property, also with the contact information to get tied in like with Duke or something like that? Do you have any information on that, or is that something, you know where you get that at?
That's, I would refer them to whoever's gonna put in their solar. Like Seth Davis, he has all that information, contact with Duke and
Yeah, I mean,
RMC.
it's like I as an individual want to put solar on my pole barn, how much information? What I'm saying is, do you also have that contact information for Duke? How to
No,
get-
I do not.
Okay.
No, they would have to go through their contractor to get that information.
How's the permitting going to go with this? Is there an outline permit or some type of application for the do?
Not at this time.
That's something that you're planning on developing at some
We've got a
point?
lot on our plate right now at
You
area
think so?
plan. So,
But that is planned to do?
yes.
You can probably get other counties to get, see
Sure.
what they're doing and use theirs.
So Penny, the only changes were the 2 line items with the strikeouts on them.
Correct.
So, or a small group of property owners under definitions was struck, and then on setbacks for the zoning district and principal land use was struck.
Correct.
Okay.
Would it be prudent to hold this off a little bit until we review the solar, the commercial solar, and make sure they're consistent with each other?
Sure,
Or
that's fine.
there's not much conflict between it?
Sure. Whatever you guys wanna do is, I've done what you requested of me, so now it's on your plate.
We appreciate that. So they can, if someone wants to put in residential solar now, they just come and,
They just do it right to this point.
or if that'd be assessed a certain tax, I mean, I'm just saying.
That's not my, I don't know
I'm just
anything
saying
about
it's
how
an
the
improvement on
assessment
property.
is.
I'm not saying we put a tax on. I'm just saying, I wonder if there's probably a standard when you appraise your property for a value of the solar.
I think they get a break if they, of some type, but I'm not positive on that.
I wouldn't talk about this.
Is there a lot of residential solar going on right now that they might
There's
know?
a lot of, there's more residential solar out there than you think, but everything that's already in is grandfathered in.
Until we-
Everything that's put in prior to this getting approved by the commissioners will be grandfathered in. And as far as I'm aware, and talking with Seth Davis, everyone that we're aware of that's done it has gone through a reputable company to do so.
I don't have any issues
Is there any permit fees here?
Not at this time, but we haven't gotten to that point.
Would that be part of the ordinance, or is that going to be just part of a permit? How would that work, John? Does the fee structure need to be in part of the ordinance, or would we amend the ordinance, or would that be a separate issue for a permit?
It could really be any of those things,
All the
depending on
above?
how you guys wanted to set it up. I think the only restriction is that if it's a fee for a permit, it must be reasonably related to the administrative cost. You can't make a profit off issuing permits, but you can recomp your reasonable administrative costs.
Sure. Is there any teeth in this where there's any type, I didn't see penalties of any sort for not complying. Is that in here somewhere that I'm not aware of?
Not in that particular, in our main zoning ordinance. If you don't follow the ordinance, there is that.
Does this refer back to that then?
Well, it will be a part of our ordinance, of our zoning, or it'll be amendment to our zoning ordinance, so it'd still
So it
fall under
complies with
those.
that. Okay. I would like to hold this until we look at the commercial, not that I have a problem with it, but that we make sure it's consistent in parts anyway with the commercial solar once that is rewritten and sent back to APCs.
I don't have any issues with that, but I think we need to put a time date on ourselves, that way it doesn't get lost in the fold, and, maybe January, February, I think we need to kind of maybe put this towards the front, like with the commercial, and that way we're not behind the 8 ball like we are with
thinking that long.
Well, I know, but I know things come up, and I don't want us to come in like November and still not have this.
Yeah, we have a lot going on right now as
Yeah.
far as zoning goes, and we'll be back, and.
So I don't have a problem
So-
holding it, we just need to make sure
Sure, I agree.
so.
I'd like to hold this for now. I don't know if we need any motions, but let's readdress this. It can stay on the agenda. That way we're still looking at it,
Sure.
if not approving it at that point.
So currently, right now, anyone can put it in and there's no requirements at all.
Correct.
Well, there's the current zoning, whatever zoning they're in, they still have to comply with those, right? Whatever that is,
As far as,
if it applies.
if they're putting in solar, we have nothing in our
No.
ordinance currently on
Until
solar.
that's approved.
No, there's building codes still. You still have to conform with those.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to public comment.
I just have 2 questions.
Okay,
Who is in
you
charge
need to
of
come
the
here,
Oh, I'm sorry.
please.
Who's in charge of the, Lynn Brewer, Economic Development, who is in charge of county website content? So if somebody were to want to put, like from an office, something on the county website, who do they go through?
I think each office holder they're supposed to have access to that through
Yeah.
IntelliLead.
Do all office holders have that? Because okay. Can you get me some information? Because I don't know anything about how to.
You want information on?
Like if I were to want to put something on the website for
We could set you up.
information.
Yeah, I can get you.
Okay.
We could set you up just like any other office holder where you have access to it.
Okay,
on the
that'd be
brick
great
side,
if I could
and
get
you
that.
could put your own.
Yeah, I think there's a link to economic development, isn't there?
There is, but
'Cause I
I
think
don't
when
know,
we-
I mean, I don't have login to be able to.
Yeah, because I
access anything
think,
on it.
I could be wrong, but I think when they were doing the website, Dylan said you guys had already spent money a few years ago on a new website, that he didn't want to
Right.
do it again, that he just wanted to put a link on there, and that's probably why he didn't get any credentials, because he just felt like, you could just click the link and go to your website.
Right, but there's sometimes people be on the website, on
I
the
agree
county,
with
that
you.
they
Yeah.
don't necessarily go to your
Oh, yeah,
website,
yeah.
but you want information
I
for
agree.
them to look at.
But I think that's why the credentials probably weren't set up.
Could well be, and he may have got, I just may not
Yeah.
have known that as well. And any idea when the job description survey is going to be done?
The salary study?
The salary study, yeah.
It's back in, we're meeting, I think we have one more meeting currently.
Okay.
We've met twice,
Okay,
and I think we're meeting one more time.
okay, that's all I got, thank you.
Lynn, isn't it Dan Elliott? Isn't
Yes.
that who we
Yeah.
contact for?
IntelliLead.
Until Elite, yeah.
Yeah, we can
I
get
have a
it.
phone number for him if you like it.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, Lynn, I want
Yes.
to talk about
Oh,
something
sure.
while you're up here. We have done our best to work with the city of Clinton with the issue of closing South Main. I am really, say not happy.
We're in the
believe-
process of negotiating
Yeah.
something at this point. We're waiting back for a reply from the city. I don't know if it's
Yeah,
appropriate to make
that has-
comment
That
yet.
discussion has been made with.
This is
the,
recent. I mean, Buddy had a meeting with Jack Gilfoy last Monday, I believe, and then Jack Gilfoy said he was going to talk to Britton, if I'm not
I
mistaken.
had discussions with Jack on Wednesday or Thursday
Okay.
last week. I'm not sure exactly which day. I'm waiting for him to get back with me with, he was gonna pull his counsel, and I've not heard back as of this date, so I'm hoping, yes.
But we haven't been talking about, but the last time I heard from you it was a decision that was made. So you're saying some of the things have developed since then?
Yes.
Since the first meeting I had with him, we had an agreement in principle. Following that meeting, we sat down and discussed the specifics of what that would be. And over the weekend, everything was in agreement at that time. But over the weekend, I'm not sure what happened. You'd have to ask Jack or John Moore, but he's the president of the council. But over that weekend, they had reservations about the agreement and basically pulled out over the weekend.
That was the last conversation I had with you on that.
That's correct. Since then, Buddy White has talked with them also, and I did have a discussion with Jack again last Wednesday. He was taking under advisement that they might consider changing their position or supplementing. I'm not sure where they're at with it at this point, but he was going to pull his council members, and that process is still going on at this point. I was hoping to hear back yesterday. Well, yesterday was a holiday. Anyway, with the holiday here, I guess it's not unexpected that it would take a while.
But it's still in the process.
It's still a process. I don't know that we need to get into in-depth discussions until we actually have something firm, and we don't have anything firm at this point.
Thank you.
Lynn, one other thing before you leave. I
That's
know you
all
keep
right.
pulling away
No
from the
problem.
thing. I spoke to you last week on the sending out that survey to maybe, Elanco and.
It went out to all of them.
Did it?
We've met our data. We've met what our minimum is that they want. We're
Mhm.
above that already.
Really?
So anything else is just more information.
Well, I figured as many we can get, the better.
Yeah, so I sent out to all the big ones, and I
Good.
got a couple replies saying, thanks, we'll make sure.
Make sure.
And I asked them too, send it out to, even if they're not Vermillion County.
Yeah, I figured like just an all.
Because it's a statewide thing.
Yeah, all work email, just send it.
Yeah, so they were really good about getting the word out, so I'm assuming that's where the numbers
Okay.
really picked up over the weekend.
Awesome, thank you.
Mhm.
One other thing, I want to make an announcement. We're working on having a boat race, September the 4th. And I'm putting it on. I'm getting the insurance, and if anybody wants to help out on it, I'd appreciate it if you would have time. All proceeds will go to Partner Marine Shelter.
What kind of volunteers do you need?
Well, we need volunteers that day, and right now I need to do a lot of promoting to get it out in front of people. I'm having a lot of interest. I think it's something that's, once you get it out and it takes shape, it could be a big event every year. And so, it'll also be the boat club, Ed McGee, run the boat club for 40 years, and he passed away 2 years ago, I think it is. And so, the boat club is going to provide the trophies, and we'll have the Ed McGee Award for the top finisher, bring a little bit of honor and respect to Ed McGee. We've already got some donations being sent in, but we'd like to promote it. Could be turned. Our river is not used very much, and I think it's something that we need to promote. And I think eventually it will be a big event. And if you guys want to help be part of it, I mean, I
Is there a
welcome
flyer
it.
or anything out?
Do what?
Is there a flyer or anything?
Not yet. I'm working with Eddie Thompson about T-shirts, and we're trying to get up a name for it. You got to have a catchy name or something. And then we're working on that, naming it. But it'll be boat, canoes and kayaks, and everybody have to wear life preservers, no drinking, and it'd be regular standard boats, canoes and kayaks. You can't alter it or anything like that. So we're looking at doing that, and it will also be a good day, and I think Mark can attest to it. Last time we tried it on a small scale, that Park County was Park County, who was it? Was it?
Park County Fire or Montezuma Fire and Clinton Fire were involved.
And
Clinton Fire has since gotten new boats. They've done a lot of training.
so it turns out real good because then they can have an exercise on the river once a year.
Actually, Mark, did you not have a role in that boat there at Clinton, the river rescue?
It was paid for with lid tax funding. That would be my role, is to turn in their paperwork.
Okay.
And Mark, you did the emergency response plan, right? Already had.
Chris Strong
He did
most
that?
of it, as part of the Lit Festival emergency response plan. So the plan exists, all we gotta do is tweak it for this year's particulars.
Is there a certain date it has to be in by the DNR by a certain date or anything?
We don't turn it in to anybody, we just have a plan in place to
Okay.
make sure that everything's covered. An event like this, you have to have egress points from the river. You know, somebody has a heart attack at 2 miles down from the bridge in Montezuma, you gotta be able to get them out. You gotta make sure EMS has an ambulance ready, and people who can get back in the woods, whatever. We'll probably have our medical UTV down there, they'll have their medical UTV in the area. They'll respond. We are this year bringing the Perrysville Fire Department to bring their boat in.
Good.
They're going to get involved in this stuff, they don't exercise their boat a lot. Hopefully, we're going to get a meeting set up here in the next few weeks to get everybody on board. DNR doesn't really, they're so stretched, they don't really get too involved.
Right.
But, they do want to know what's going on.
I think it'd be a great event. Anybody else got anything? Public comment?
The 16th closing, was that half a day or all day?
It was at 1 o'clock, I believe, John.
What was it?
Yeah, 1 o'clock. And then last Thursday was the all day, because the town said there wouldn't be no water all day, so.
The situation is with locally town, some of you might know, but Newport's doing a water project, and anytime they do a water project, there's going to have some issues like this, and I think some of the corrections are making them so they likely won't have so much of this issue, but proper valving put in. So it's a temporary issue, I think, mainly. Anybody else got anything?
I got one thing for John before. John, on some of our old equipment, I've got some old equipment up at District 3 that is pretty much like junk. What's the process of the county getting rid of that?
If it's valueless, typically they've seen if anybody wants stuff to take it, like old furniture, old computers.
Okay, well, I need to rephrase. One might be junk, and a couple others could be of use to someone. Maybe like the transmission's gone in it, the motor might not be any good. Does it need to be bid? What's our process?
Yeah, typically what we've done in the past, at least if there was value, is they would say, hey, we're going to sell this. Does anybody want to buy it, and see who made the best offer.
Okay.
And I have to be notified because I have to take it out of our asset ledger.
Okay. So could we put something on the agenda for next meeting? I could bring it and show you guys.
There is a statute with surplus equipment or
Yeah, there's the distinction is how much value we're talking
Right,
about to
right.
get you guys.
Well, it's just
that
sitting there, and I
data.
know we're, insurance on it. It's just sitting there, weeds growing.
I agree. We probably should pull our other offices as
And
far
see
as
if there's
surplus
anything.
and do this all at once if we can.
Yeah, that
I'd
would be
like
a-
to. I'm
yeah.
expecting we probably have the same thing at Highway, at the
Yeah.
other garages.
I
as
might
well.
send out an all-county email then and ask everybody
I
to,
think it's a good idea.
and see if they got any surplus.
Doesn't the sheriff's department get rid of some on a regular basis, do old vehicles?
We've been taking ours, I know they took the last batch of cars to Wolf's Auto Auction.
Oh, did they? Yeah, I think I might have one thing might be worth something. The other couple, I don't know that anybody. One's like an old paver, like 1961 or something. It's sitting there. They said they can't even get parts at a junkyard anymore. So I don't know. I don't know what that'll amount to. But anyway, yeah. If you want to stick that on
I
the
agree.
agenda, and I'll send out an email.
Anybody else?
Good point.
A motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Yeah, that's a good point.